Free mind games. Get up, girls, Father said one morning, flipping on the light in our bedroom, and then kept walking down the hall. But we're so tired, Becky said. We both fell immediately back to sleep. Father came back a few minutes later and saw that we were still in bed. He reached for the light switch and flicked it off without saying a word. Good. I can sleep a little longer, I thought. After a few minutes, Becky got up and turned the light on. We better get up, Rachel. We have school. We were in 4th grade that year. Father walked by again and turned off the light. Okay, I guess we can sleep a little longer, Becky said, yawning, and lay back down. After another 10 minutes, it was my turn to get up and switch the light on. But Father was back again in a flash to turn it off. Maybe there's no school today, I said, and lay back down. Becky and I had both fallen back asleep when Mother Barbara walked into our room. Girls, school has already started. You're late. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes. Father kept turning off the light, so we figured he wanted us to sleep. You can at least get up and help me with the dishes, Mother Barbara said. We got dressed and went to the kitchen, working quickly to wipe down the counters and load the dishwasher. The day looked temptingly sunny and warm, and we wanted to get outside as soon as we could. The phone rang. Mother answered, said yes and no a few times, and hung up. Father wants you two to go to school. But we're too late now. Why did he keep turning our light off? I don't know, but go get your books and get going. I could tell Mother Barbara felt bad for us, but she was as afraid of disobeying Father as we were. On the way to school, I had an idea. Let's walk really slow, Becky, so we don't get there until it's time for recess. Then we can slip in and put our books in our desk, and it will be like we were there all along when everyone comes back inside. So we dawdled, stopping to look at the dogs in the kennels and the chickens in the coop. 5 minutes before recess, we hurried to our classroom. Our teacher, Ora Steed Jeffs, was there helping a student with homework. Ora was one of Grandfather's wives, and she was very beautiful. Father was very fond of her, and often had her in his office for long private meetings. Why don't you girls go outside with the other children? Mrs. Jeffs said. Out on the lawn in back of the school, our classmates were playing Steal the Flag, and we joined right in. But in no time Mrs. Jeffs came out to get us. Your father wants to see you. We followed Mrs. Jeffs upstairs to Father's office. I want you to give these girls an F on their attitude and behavior reports today, Father said to her. To us he said, you are the principal's daughters and should set a good example for other students. But today you set a very bad example by being late. We both said okay, and followed Mrs. Jeffs out. We were barely back in the classroom when Father summoned us back to his office. You girls are expelled from school. You were not only late and set a bad example, but you don't act like you even feel bad about it. Gather up your school books and go home. You can't come back to school until I say so. Father isn't thinking straight, I thought. I didn't dare say so to Becky, but I had a feeling she thought the same thing. That same night, there was a fire at Uncle Ron Roebuck's house, and Father was called away to help the family. I had a feeling the distraction and lack of sleep would work in our favor, and with that in mind, the next morning I said to Becky, I bet Father forgot he expelled us. Let's just go to school. Becky and I were seated at our desks by 7:15 sharp, and school proceeded as if nothing had ever happened. The next time Father called me to his office during school, it was to admonish me for something completely different. Your teacher tells me that 2 boys in your class are paying special attention to you. You must not encourage it. The worst thing that can happen is to let a boy touch you. Do you understand? Yes, Father, I said. Someone was lifting me from my bed. What's happening? Shh. Rachel, you're okay, Father said as he stood me up. I could barely see him in the darkness. He should have been doing night watch for Grandfather. The other girls were sleeping. Come with me, Father said, taking my arm and leading me out into the hall and upstairs to the living room. The house was silent. You act like you haven't been feeling well lately, Father said as he sat me on the couch and took my hands in his. I thought I would rub on you a little bit. He lay me on the floor and lifted my nightgown. Something inside my heart broke. You can go back to bed, Father said. when he was finished doing what he wanted to do with me. I fled to my mother's room, where I knew I was safe. I sat carefully on the edge of her bed, trying not to disturb her, but I began to cry and she woke up. "What happened? Why are you crying?" I didn't dare tell her. I couldn't imagine what father would say or do to her, or to me. "Rachel, you will tell me what happened." I couldn't catch my breath from crying. All I could say at first was, "Father, did he hurt you? Tell me." I finally calmed down enough to tell her that he'd been touching me and making me do things to him. I didn't even know how to describe it. My mother's lips pinched together. I could see she was furious. "That is not okay," she said, got out of bed, and walked out of the room. I heard her walk downstairs to father's bedroom. I lay on mother's sofa, awake, all that night, listening to the sounds of the house. Mother didn't return until morning, and when she did, she went about her routine as usual. She never spoke of what I had said to her again, and I never found out what father said to her, but whatever it was, it served to silence her. I stayed close to Becky all that day, which we spent building cities and roads and mountains in the sandbox. I was spared father's attentions for about a week, before he summoned me again. The only difference was that from then on he would say, "You don't need to tell your mother or anyone else about this." One day, when I was 11 years old and father had me naked in his office while he touched me, he said, "Rachel, do you ever look at yourself in the mirror when you are undressed?" I looked at him, his hands between my legs. After a few silent seconds I said, "Yes, of course. I'm sure you get curious about how your body is changing and what it looks like, but it is wrong for a girl to look at her changing body in the mirror," father said. "Your body is not for you. Your body is sacred, and it is changing so you can become a mother. You must never look at yourself in the mirror when you are undressed." I ignored him and continued to look at my undressed body in the mirror. If nothing else, it was hard not to, since the bathtub was smack in front of the mirror. Sometimes he took me to the school library instead of his office. He would undress me and then have me turn around so he could look at me and touch me all over, saying, "See, Rachel, I would never hurt you." As I got older, father would increasingly insist that I undress for him rather than make him do it, but I often refused, so he would undress me himself. Once in his office, after he had me undress and then undressed himself in the closet, he had me lie on the ground with my butt up and my head on the floor. He lay on top of me naked. I was terrified that he was going to commit adultery with me, but he was careful to not cross that line. He never went inside me with his penis, only with his fingers. People around father began to wonder why he seemed to favor my company far more than any of his other children. Mother Annette said to me, "Rachel, why don't you ask father to take some of the other girls instead of you all the time?" One evening in May 1995, father asked Mother Brenda if she would tend the children while he took his other ladies to a late dinner being served at the school. My older sisters Marianne and Sandra were going to help serve the meal, which meant I would be the oldest child at home. This was not the first time father had taken his other ladies somewhere special and left Mother Brenda behind. She couldn't protest to father, so she took it out on us children. That night, after father and the other mothers left, I decided it would be wise to stay out of Mother Brenda's way. As soon as we girls finished cleaning up after dinner, I pulled Becky aside. "Let's go play in the woods." We snuck our pillows outside and climbed the tallest tree in the yard. We each perched on a high branch above the wall that encircled our property, using our pillows as seat cushions. "I love it up here," I said. "You can see everything." As my sisters Angela, Shirley, and Melanie were all trying to climb the tree behind us, I heard Brenda yell from inside, "You girls, you get out of that tree. Come inside for family prayer. It's time for bed." "It seems way too early for bed," I said. "The sun is still up. Let's stay out here a little longer," Becky said. We talked about the mountains and the neighbor boy playing ball down the street, and enjoyed the feeling of the breeze in our hair. "I'm going to tell father that you are disobeying," Mother Brenda was yelling now. "I guess she's pretty mad," I said. "We better go in." We climbed down with our pillows and went inside, ran to the living room, and got on our knees in a circle for prayer. The stern look on Mother Brenda's face struck us as kind of funny. We closed our eyes as we were supposed to, but we struggled not to giggle as she began saying the prayer. Suddenly our brother Mosiah ran in, and jumped into the middle of the circle and ripped a big fart. That was no match for the smothered giggles of 5 silly girls. I pretended to cough to cover up my laughter. I heard Becky clear her throat with the same intent. I didn't dare peek at her for fear I'd burst into open laughter. Mother Brenda finished the prayer without saying amen. She looked around the circle furious. She grabbed Becky by the back of the neck. "All of you children go to bed now." She dragged Becky off to our room. She was always hardest on Becky, even though we were all equally guilty of disrespecting her. The rest of us followed behind. I joined Becky, and Melanie and Shirley went next door to their room, while Angela went to lie on the bed in Mother Annette's room. Becky opened our window, picked up a book of hymns, stuck her head out, and began singing When Upon Life's Billows. Shirley opened their window, stuck her head out, and began singing along with Becky. Then Melanie and I joined in. Meanwhile, Mother Brenda went to check on Angela and found her on the phone trying to call Father to complain that we had been sent to bed too early. That's when Brenda heard us singing. When we got to the chorus, we started really belting it out. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Brenda came storming into our room, grabbed Becky by her hair, and pulled her in from the window. I jumped down onto my bed before she could grab me. Brenda stuck her head out our window and yelled over to Shirley, who was hanging out her bedroom window, "I'm going to spank you." Then, turning her attention back to us, she shoved Becky over to her bed and smacked her across the face. "Father is going to hear about this," she snarled. Becky was playing tough and wouldn't cry, but I did. "I hate you," I yelled. Mother Brenda looked at me shocked. I was not the kind of child who would say something like that, but at the moment I meant it for what she had done to Becky. I could tell Mother Brenda felt my words clear to her heart by the look on her face as she turned to walk out of our room. Father called the whole family together the next morning. The Lord said, "When you sin in public, you should be punished publicly. I got a report that last night you girls sinned in public by disobeying the mother I left to tend you, and then were disrespectful and rude. I want all the mothers and children to see how wrong you were." Father picked up a yardstick. "Becky, you will receive your punishment first, because you were the most disobedient. Come here." Becky stepped over to him, and he began whacking her legs. She wouldn't cry, so Father hit her harder. She still wouldn't cry. "You're playing tough, girl? Well, we'll see." Father continued hitting her harder and harder until, snap! The yardstick broke. But Becky didn't break. Mother Annette started to cry and walked out of the room. I turned my head to look out the window so I wouldn't have to watch as Father spanked Melanie, Shirley, and Angela in age order. Then Father turned to me. "I'm not going to spank you because you are now too old for me to spank, but I want you to know that I'm very disappointed in you." To the family, it probably looked like he was playing favorites, since Becky and I were the same age, but I knew in my heart it was because of what he did to me in secret. Father liked to reserve his punishment of me for when I disobeyed him till then.